Hey, Laney. Hi from Mexico.
Hi, Mirta. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Very excited to be here with you today.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm really excited to have you as a guest on the Game Changers United podcast. I mean, this is the place where we inspire, empower, and connect fellow game changers. And well, you are definitely one of them. All the way from Mexico, we were already talking briefly before we started recording that it's still on my bucket list. So if anyone has some tips around Mexico, more than welcome. But let's just dive into today's episode, and we are going to talk to Laney as a game changer in the retreat market. And Laney, can we just start by introducing you? Like, who are you?
Yes. Hi. Well, I'm Laney. I'm the founder of the Retreat Planner. And this is a conscious agency where we focus our energy in creating beautiful retreats for our clients and teaching people how to run their own retreats in a space where they find their purpose, they really connect with themselves, they really do it from a space of heart. And then from there, we go into these techniques for them to do it hassle-free and stress-free, low effort, high rewards mindset, really bringing like loyalty marketing in the background of these exercises. And then I also teach them how to run profitable retreats, because this is something that happens a lot. We don't know how to budget, or we are missing something. And there are certain ways that are very simple for us to keep track of our costs and see how actually we should be pricing our retreats for our audience. So we're not either overcharging or undercharging our services. And it's actually something that feels very aligned with what we're doing.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And what I really love, what I really love about the way how you do things are actually two things that really stood out for me. Is one is that you work from the place of purpose, which is already for me, then you speak my language. And I think this is the core of being a game changer, is to go to your own core, to find that and to manifest it in a way that really works for you. So we are going to deep dive on that. Like, how did you end up doing this? Like, how did you end up doing this as your purpose? And the second thing, what I really like, is the connection with the marketing, because in the end, everything comes down to marketing, and in this case, positioning. Like, how do you position yourself in your life? How do you position yourself in your business? And how do you position your business or your retreat in the world? So I'm really looking forward to deep dive with you on that. But before we do that, can you give us a little bit, like, setting the scene, like, for who is this episode specifically very valuable?
So this is for anyone who's sharing their teachings to the world, right? So let's talk about, for example, life coaches, business coaches, speaking coaches, communication guides. It can be also for yoga teachers, meditation healers. So for anyone, the way I would say it, if you're sharing your gifts with the world, this is for you. So if you're sharing it, yeah, it's as simple as this. If you're sharing your things with other people, you're from a place of service, and you're teaching them or guiding them through a process, then you can take them into this land of retreats where you're actually taking them into a beautiful space where they're retreating from their normal life. So the teachings can be deeper and can be more valuable than if you're just taking a class, let's say, once a week on your computer and you're far away. If you come to a retreat, usually the results are so much higher and the transformation is actually faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so this is what we talked about previously as well. It's like, when you are in a certain level of your business, like a service-based business where you help other people through certain processes, no matter what your toolbox is, if you're a life coach or whatever kind of coach you are, at one point you will reach this point in your business where you're like, okay, so how can I create even more value? So what is the best way now to help my clients onwards, to take them to an even deeper level? And this basically is where you come in. Is that correct?
Exactly. Okay. Yes, this is where I come in, and I guide people through this process, right? And I do it for retreats mainly, but I've done it also for clients where they're in this space where they're doing online courses, for example, and they feel that they have shifted the way they are. They're not the same person they were when they launched their website and their courses and their programs. And we go into it, and this is exactly the same thing we do. We go and we dive deep into our core, into our heart. We also talk to our inner child to see what the inner child wants to do, because so many times when we were kids, we already knew what we wanted to be as when we grew up, right? So for example, if you wanted to be a police officer or a fireman, usually it's connected with a need to serve people, to be of service, to really help others, right? And so many people used to, and this was me, I used to teach my brothers, and I was always teaching, and it doesn't mean I wanted to become a teacher, but I want to teach my knowledge and share it with everyone else. So we all already have a gift since we were kids, but we just we forget. Yeah. So we go really into a very deep process to learn from our authentic communication, our authentic voice, what we want to do. And then we reshape everything that we're doing. Sometimes for people who have even done quite a few retreats already, they find that what they're offering is the same thing that they were offering, let's say 3 retreats before, but they're not the same person that they were 3 retreats before. They have changed. So the offerings and the service and what they have to share with the world is different. So we go into this process of first finding and then actually getting into all the technical part of executing. But if you don't have a project or a purpose behind it that is very steady and is really connected with your heart, you're not going to focus your energy on it. And it doesn't sell. No, it's as simple as it.
I know, and I totally agree with that. And just a question that's popping to my mind, like all the interviews, all the conversations that we do in this podcast actually are not scripted. So we are just talking. So do you think that, or can you tell me, is like the majority of your audience is female?
There is a higher female audience, definitely.
Yeah.
But I have seen that the male audience is growing a lot lately. Okay. It's just that women were more connected with our emotions because we were taught that, it's not, you don't get punished if you cry. If you're a boy, you get, people tell you you're a boy, you should not be crying. You should not. So they teach you from childhood not to be connected to your emotions. So for women also, because we have all this creative energy, it's easier for us to tap into this space of really connection with ourselves, and it's just faster. Men just come into this work when they're in a space of crisis, when they're like done, there's something that needs to change because their life is not working anymore. So when it happens, that's when men come in. But it is mainly, it's more focused on women right now, but there is a shift happening and I'm seeing it. And a lot of old men are doing the work because they want to fix their heritage, their family lineage for their grandkids. So when they have grandkids, there's a shift in the way they do. So there is a business for older people doing retreats. Yes. Most of the people don't think about this. They think, oh, I need a 25, 35, 40-year-old person in my retreat, in my program. But the people who are older, they start to realize what they have not done. And since death is coming closer down the line, it is becoming more visible for them. They realize that they need to change something.
Yeah. So you basically, from the point where we are, we look forward. They are at this point in their lives when they will start looking back already, but they are still young enough to leverage that experience and information into something useful, powerful, inspirational for children, grandchildren, or maybe even beyond that, right? That's an interesting market.
Yes, it's extremely interesting. There is a lot of people, a lot of parents that are estranged from their sons or daughters. They're not speaking because they had a feud, so they don't speak to each other for 2-3 years, and they start getting all this weight on their consciousness of how they stop talking to their kids and how they're now alone. So there is something happening there that it's very worth looking at. Just I'm already starting with some tips, but this is one of the tips that just came out,
Yeah, because we forgot to mention, like Laney is going to share a lot of soft tips, let's say, so how from a connecting perspective, but also very practical tips, like how to do that. But this is basically just a new idea, right? This is just something that you are just
putting it out there for anyone who's thinking, who's my audience?
Well, and exactly, and it's very interesting because it triggers something for me as well. It's like you can also make a combination, right? I mean, it's so interesting when you put together younger people and more experienced people. Let's not call them old yet, because so for the people,
I don't want to call them like someone who's in the bloom of their lives.
Yeah. We need to define this one, but no, it's very interesting actually to already give us a different perspective. Like when you think about retreat, you automatically think only about like, sorry, this is and this is really me talking. Like I think about like people who do yoga, and which is that's like what a lot of people think when it comes to retreat. And
this is the majority of the retreats are being offered, yoga and meditation.
Yeah, exactly. And that's beautiful. Like I did them myself as well. And I recently did a retreat on Bali, a 5-day retreat with so I was there partly for work and partly as part of my own transformational journey. So I like to go on journeys myself during the year. It's like a retreat with myself, actually. But I was actually on a retreat there as well, with one of the high priests on Bali and with the spiritual community, and it was so amazing to see what they were doing, like how everyone like was holding space for each other while really going deeper into their own gifts and being guided by this couple, like this high priest couple. And he's actually, I'm going to interview him as well for the podcast, and we work together very closely. And I'm actually going to work together with one of his students. She's going to follow a one-to-one program with me, and this retreat really changed my perspective. So sometimes we just assume something, but until we experience it, we cannot really fully understand what it is. Like understand here with the head, but also understand here in the heart. Like know and feel and really go to that place when you can unpack that gift, right?
Yes. So I will tell you later a little bit about my story and how I got there, but I just want to give everyone kind of like a little bit of a teaser. So when I decided to move into retreat planning and really take this as my passion, I was doing a retreat once per week.
Oh, no, really?
Yes. I went to that. Well, there's a lot of retreats happening in Mexico. I have a lot of connections here and I know amazing teachers in Mexico. So I was going almost every week for, I think, at least 4 months.
No,
I was doing a retreat.
I was like, I was knocked out after 5-day retreat. I mean, I was like for 3 or 4 days. How did you do this?
Well, just a lot of resting afterwards, 1 or 2 days of resting. I focused my energy really in doing retreats and learning. And it was such a beautiful journey for myself, because I was really connecting with my spirituality in a deeper level, because it was like, I love spirituality. I was kind of connected, but it was sporadic, it was like once a month, full moon, full moon, new moon experiences kind of lifestyle. And when I was just like, okay, this is what I'm doing, and like, this is really my calling, I was like, I need to go into a deeper understanding of myself before I can go and share it with the world. Right? So it was a really inner journey.
I love that. I really love that. And I really believe this is the only way to really build fundamental impact, is to do it from this place really deep down inside. And that you need to understand it yourself first, and then transform it into something powerful for the other. So actually, I wanted to talk to you about the business, but I think we are going to take a deep dive first in your story, because take us with you on this amazing
journey. Of course. I'm happy to share my story. It's for quite some time I was not really sharing it, because I was like, well, who wants to hear it? No, but now I'm just like, well, whoever wants to hear it, hear it. And
exactly.
And I went through so many different processes that once I started sharing my story first with friends, and then with other people, and then connections and whatnot, I saw that it was actually helping people also change their lives, you know, in a way. Like I will talk about someone in just like in between that she just came to my mind. She's a very, very dear friend of mine, but I will talk about her in the middle, no point now. But so I've been in the event planning business for like 18 years now. So it's been quite some time. I started working as a hostess on weddings because I really enjoyed events, and I was doing it every weekend. And then my summers, I was spending them in working in hotels. I really wanted to deep dive into this. I had a catering business where I was like doing wedding cakes. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. It was so much fun. And then I was here in Mexico, you know, normal lifestyle. I had my house, very, very normal stuff. And then I realized that I was missing something. I really had a passion for traveling. I really enjoyed traveling. And it was kind of like one of my drivers through life, you know, traveling. And I was like, okay, so what do I do? And then one day someone told me, hey, why don't you move to Dubai? Because it's so well located for traveling. And I'm like, Dubai, that's a Middle Eastern country. Yeah. I was very concerned about, you know, women's rights. I had so many questions, you know, so I was like, I was very scared. Like I was really, really scared about making this leap. But at the same time, inside of me, I knew I had to move out of Mexico. Like I needed to do this shift in my life for things to change.
And how old were you back then?
I was 25.
You were 25. Okay.
I was 25. So yeah, I think I was like 2 years out of college or something like this. I was working here. I was doing well, you know, it was not a thing of need, but I was just like, there was something missing.
Okay, so that was the reason why you felt something inside, but you couldn't really like pinpoint it in that moment. But
it took me actually quite a couple of years to pinpoint. Yeah, it was not like, oh, you know, you get to Dubai and eureka, you have the answer. No, actually, I had so many hard learnings about something that really guides my life today, you know. So I was okay, I'm going. So I applied for a job. It was super quick. Like I think 3 months later, I was in Dubai.
So it was. Who was this person? Can you tell us a little bit about this person? Like why did he or she?
Well, she was my friend. Like we went to college together.
Okay.
And she also was thinking about going somewhere else. She works now in cruise lines. Like she's also a nomad in a way. And she loves being with people. And she's such a beautiful soul. And she's like, come with me. And I was like, no, you go first. So actually she moved to Dubai first. And then I said, like, then you let me know how it is. And then she was calling me every day, Laney, you have to come. This is for you. You're going to love it. And I'm like, okay. So I packed my bags. I moved there. And, you know, 3 months later, she's like, I'm leaving.
No.
She's like, I cannot spend Christmas without my family. So I stayed there, but I already had friends. I was planning to go there for a year and a half. And I ended up staying, I think, almost 7 years in Dubai.
Oh, wow.
Yes, because I really enjoyed it. I found a lot of space for me to travel. So that was perfect. I got to travel, I think, more than 25 countries in this time because I really made an effort out of it. And I was working for Marriott. So I was working for a hotel first, and then I worked for the corporate office for Middle East and Africa. And I was brought in to do the launch of Marriott Bomboy. So, you know, there were 3 loyalty programs when they purchased Starwood hotels, and they had to launch a new brand. So we went through the whole process of like 3 brands, 3 programs, because everything had to change also in this technical setup behind. So it was a project of like, I think 2 years or more. And then we had 3 brands, 1 program. And finally we launched 1 program, 1 brand. So Marriott Bomboy. And it was an absolute beautiful journey. You know, I got into the job and the first thing I had to do was plan a private concert with Craig David for 200 people. That was my welcome, my welcome.
Your welcome office assignment. Okay.
Yeah, that was like, welcome to Marriott Bomboy. This is now your life. And from
Wow.
there, it just went wild. I was planning dinner events in front of the Giza pyramids for our top members. So everything that I've done always is very niche. But we
Yeah.
were also planning activations at Dubai Jazz Festival. I did a dinner in the Summer Palace of the King of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia was also such a trip, because you have to wear an abaya and you have to cover up, and it is like you're going into a different dimension. It's all sand, very beautiful buildings, like architecture, like you don't see in many places this. So for me, it was absolutely beautiful. I enjoyed it very much. I had to break some rules because you're not allowed to talk first to men. They have to talk to you. But I was like, well, I'm hosting this dinner. What am I supposed to do? Not say hello? So I broke a couple of rules. I have to say, I did not behave completely with the Sharia law, but just very normal things about talking to men. Nothing illegal.
Place. I mean, that's also different. I think, like, how you approach it, right? I mean, if it's in a respectable way, then you can.
Yes.
So
I had quite a lot of practice talking to people from the Middle East. So I already knew how to do it and how not to do it. And, so there is definitely, you learn how to deal with the situations in a different way. My first job, I was working with 64 different nationalities.
Wow. Yeah.
And this is working with so many nationalities, or even with just a few different nationalities, is such a learning curve, because for us, maybe, like, for example, in Spain, snapping the fingers is okay. In Mexico, snapping the fingers is rude. But in Africa, is extremely disrespectful. Someone is going to go crazy if you snap the fingers on them.
Yeah.
So this learning curve is it's so interesting. So anyway, I was doing this part of, like, all these, I was doing activations, but I was doing all the campaigns behind it. So I really worked with what we call the life cycle marketing. And this is something that I really bring into retreats, because everyone thinks that the retreat starts when you go into the retreat.
Oh, no.
And the retreat starts long before, and it ends long after the retreat is over.
Yeah.
When I planned a retreat for Dr. Joe Dispenza, I was still answering messages and taking care of things 3 months after the retreat took place.
Yeah.
So this is something also to keep in mind for everyone planning retreats.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is a very valuable lesson. That's why I love that you're bringing marketing into it. Like, I have a marketing background as well. So I'm a strategic marketeer. So we speak in a lot of different ways. We speak the same language. And marketing is much more than Facebook ads. A lot of people think marketing is Facebook ads or whatever it is, but marketing is the jacket that you create that someone else is going to buy. It's the jacket that starts at the designer table. So you are designing an experience, and marketing is there to help you to decorate that experience, to help it to get across. It has so many different layers and functions depending on where in the process. And the sooner you bring it to the table, the better the outcome will be.
Yes.
Can you deep dive a little bit on the retreat that you organized with Joe Dispenza? Because I think a lot of people are interested to hear a little bit what you did there.
Yeah, well, it was all a manifestation practice that I didn't even know I was doing. So this is a little bit down the line. So a little more when I moved back to Mexico. But yeah, definitely happy to talk a little bit about it. One day I was walking in the supermarket, and I'm a very rational mind. And because I work with marketing and I work with a lot of numbers, and I studied economics for some time. So my mind is always spinning, it's like always thinking of what else needs to be done. And actually what my practice is to quiet the mind. It's just like, really, that's my practice. That's what I do. I don't do anything more complicated than that, because this is what I need. When I quiet the mind, then the creative thoughts come.
Yeah.
And I really thought, I really believed, and it was completely true, that I needed someone to create a bridge between my mind, like my mental self, and my spiritual life, through understanding the brain and how the brain waves change. And so I thought, wow, Joe Dispenza is amazing, right? And I was like, and then one day I was walking in the supermarket and I just said to myself, oh, I really want to work with Joe Dispenza so I can create this bridge between my mind and my heart. And I can understand, and my rational mind can understand. And I just let it be. Okay. I was in the supermarket. That was it. I left it. And then 3 weeks later, one of my clients that I planned quite a few things for her and I helped her in her business, she came to me and she's like, Laney, do you want to plan a Joe Dispenza retreat for me?
No way.
And I was like, yes. But for me, I said work. In my mind thought that I wanted to maybe go to one of his retreats or read one of his books, or do the online course.
I actually wanna dive into this a little bit more, because sometimes when you ask for something, you don't get it the way you think you will get it, or the way you think you want it in that moment. You get the opportunity you get the opportunity. If you want to become financially free, or you want to create impact, or you want to do something with Joe Dispenza, you don't get Joe Dispenza, or you don't get all the money in the bank, or you don't get whatever it is. But the universe is creating the opportunity for you to manifest that in a way that works for you, right? So this is for everyone who's listening right now, who is really looking to manifest. It can be very specific. Like, be open for the fact that it can come differently than you initially think. Difficult word. Okay, that was my sound.
I completely agree. I'm reading this book. There's also about your heart's purpose, and it tells you exactly the same, that you just need to be aware that maybe the universe will not create exactly what you ask for. It's going to create what you need. Exactly that. So she was like, and I was like, okay, fine. And then we started the whole process, and it was a small event for 72 people based in 3 different hotels. So we were managing transport, like the meals, there was a lot of like dietary restrictions because, like the people who were coming were quite not well known, so they all flew to Mexico. I'm not going to put out there any names because I don't think this is the way to do it. But I had to like help people find a private airport to land their planes. So this is what I'm saying. So it was a very high-end event for people who wanted to have a closer experience with Dr. Joe Dispenza. People who didn't want to go to the 1,500 people events. Yeah. And they wanted to do it with their friends. So most of the people who were coming, they were all friends. It's like they were telling me, Laney, do you have an extra spot? My friend really wants to come. And I'm like, I'm booked out. Let me have a look, let me see. And I was like getting so many phone calls, like, my friend is coming. I'm like, but yes, we need to see, who's the friend, because it was very, very interesting. And I want to say something else that I think it's very important for us to keep in mind when you're working with people who are very, very well known and celebrities. You need to plan and think about the unexpected. Like this is something that you really need to keep in mind, and you need to think about every possible scenario of if they're gonna want a specific type of water, or they're gonna want something that you can only maybe find in the States from groceries, and you need to bring it maybe from Amazon. You need to also, for example, think about what's gonna happen if someone who's not in the guest list comes and they want to attend the event, or they want to sneak into the venue. How do you manage this? How do you manage the people? Because it can be quite, it can really, in one little thing, can ruin the whole experience. So this is something very, very important to keep in mind, that most of the times we forget, or we don't even think about all these things. So for example, for me, when I do virtual planning with people for their retreats, I take them through this process where I show them the whole fan of possibilities. I tell them this could happen. This could happen. Exactly. It's like a journey that might happen, or like experience that might happen. And I think it's really interesting. So in the meantime, I'm making notes, and the people who are watching this on YouTube, they can see it, but the other people who are only listening on Spotify, they can. But I think this is really important. Like, how do you manage the people is
like the people make it or break it in the end. Whether it's guests that are coming unexpectedly, whether it's like an employee that says something that's not that's not appropriate, or it's it can go wrong in so many points of the day, in so many times of the day. So I would really like to deep dive with you into that in a bit, because this is, I think, one of the interesting parts that I was reading on your website as well, is like how specific you are, like how detailed you are, and just how detailed you are. I really love that. But before we do that, was Dr. Joe Dispenza, was he happy with the outcome?
Oh, he was very, very happy.
Yeah, amazing.
Yes. I had a talk with him once, and he was like, "Oh, Laney, you're the glue that brings everything together." And I'm like, "Thank you."
Wow, this is the best compliment. Like, whether it comes from Dr. Joe Dispenza or any of your clients, I think you are the glue. And I really feel like for your audience, because going back to the business side of things, like your focus is mainly on life coaches, people healers, the spiritual communities, so people who want to bring something from their gift to the world. And they need to focus on the things that they're doing. I saw it in Bali myself as well, like people who are so gifted, they don't want to be disturbed by everything around, and so they need the glue. They need Laney, apparently.
Yeah, that's exactly the reason, I think, behind the retreat planner, because for me, I was like, why are you spending your time really doing a spreadsheet or like designing something on Canva to share your retreat, when you should be focusing your energy in what you do best? Yeah, like this is not what you should be doing. For example, for me, personally, I don't take care of the sales of the retreats for them, because there's also this energetic connection. So this is something that I don't take care of in general. Like I will help them, for example, for like the ultra personal packages. I help them and I manage the customers. I take care of everything, but I don't do the cold sales approach or the approach, or I like, if someone has questions, and I talk to them for sure, and I'm like, okay, this is what's happening. But usually this connection, like closer connection with each other, is so much more important when you're trying to get someone to come to a retreat, because they need to connect with you, not with me or anyone else. They need to understand your offering, and it makes such a difference, right?
Yeah,
so I just want to go back a little bit and finish my story, because
that was the first.
But I think it takes us all the way back to everything that we were talking about. But so I had a very, very interesting experience. So I was in Dubai. I was doing great. I loved my job, and I had my spiritual part on the side. So I had my 9-to-5 job, and then I would do my spiritual practices on the side, and that was it. I would go to yoga, some meditations, but nothing really in depth. And then one time I came back on holidays to Mexico, and I saw my ex-boyfriend from many, many years ago, and then I think we had unresolved issues, but we saw each other, and it was a perfect conversation, super amicable. We were great. But the next day when I woke up, I was not here. I was not in my body. This is what you call an out-of-body experience. That's what I had. I was living in the past for 3 days. Oh, wow. Like my brain was just firing up memories, good ones, bad ones. I couldn't be in my body. I was not in my body. I was not present. You would see me, and I would just be like, I would answer, but I was not really I was not present. That's the exact word. And I was walking in this small street, and then I found an alley, and I was very called in by the alley. It sounds very much like how a horror movie starts, but it was not a horror movie for sure. And I was like, oh, I felt drawn to that alley. I went inside, and there was this practitioner who was doing rebirthing breath work. And I was like, and I never I had a little bit of a strained when it comes to these kind of things. So I was just like, I'm not sure. And at that moment, I was just like, yes, I have to go in. I booked a session for the same day in the afternoon. And through breath, I really found that I thought I created for myself the imagination that I forgave him, but I never found the word for what I forgave him for. So I actually never forgave him. And this is an invitation that is not retreat planner oriented or anything else. But if you like, for anyone who has done something that is harmful for you, it's good to go back and figure out if you actually put a word into what you forgave them for, because so many times we don't.
Do you want to share
the reality that we need the word for us to be able to forgive?
And do you want to share the word with us?
Oh yeah, easy. It was betrayal. I felt betrayed by him because we had so many plans and then suddenly nothing, So I felt betrayed. And once I put the word, oh my gosh, I was back in my body. My brain cleared up and I was good. It was so magical that I went back to Dubai and I started doing it very often. I met some amazing people. I was doing all these practices. I was doing sound healing. I loved it so much. I traveled to Nepal for 9 days by myself to take sound healing sessions. Like I was taking two times daily. I really went all in. And I was still living my life in Dubai. And then COVID happened, like it happened for everyone else. And everyone in the office, everything in the office was moving a lot. There was no budget for events anymore because we were all locked in apartments. I was in an apartment that was absolutely beautiful views, whatnot. But I had to ask for a permission from the police, and I could only go out of my house every 3 days to the supermarket. So, and there was a lot of restrictions. And when they started opening up everything again, I was just like, this is not for me anymore. I cannot be here. I need to go somewhere where I feel better and I feel more free. And I just woke up one day and I was like with this feeling, well, everything is going to be okay. So I went and I resigned and I was like, moving back to Mexico, I'll figure it out. Because it was just, it was from this space of trust, of trusting my journey and knowing that my journey in Dubai was over and that it was amazing, but there was something else for me to be done. So when I came back to Mexico, I was just like, I asked myself for 2 things I decided I wanted to be my own boss because I was like, I'm done with people changing their minds and then changing my life. So I'm going to be my own boss. And I thought, I want something where I can be creative. I want to be able to create things. And this is something that I really bring the creative energy into everything I do. And then I want to do something that is connected with my business skills and my spiritual life. And that's how slowly but surely the retreat planner came to life.
Yeah, amazing. Well, it makes so much sense when you share your story with us, like all the ingredients that you created this dish, let's say, this dish called the retreat planner. So I think it's really valuable. So you were saying a few things that I want to highlight for people, because I think what we can really learn from your story so far is that everyone goes through things, right? I mean, we are all familiar with that, and I really feel, and this is what I experience, and I hear you say it as well, there comes a moment, and maybe right now you are not there yet, but there will come a moment that you feel like, okay, I am not sure how, but I know it will. And if you focus too much on the how, you will never make steps. You will always stay in the thing that you are in right now. So if there's in any way or area in your life where you feel like this right now, just know that you don't have to know the how. You will figure it out along the way. You need to go back to that feeling in yourself, trusting yourself, really knowing and understanding that you are here to make it work no matter how. So that's one thing that I feel like we can really help some hopefully some people who are listening to as well. So this is the personal story, and then you have the retreat planner. So I want to talk to you about, like, how do you work? So what are your programs, and what are the tips and the tricks or the lessons that you can share with everyone who is thinking about or wants to organize a retreat in any way, shape, or form?
Oh yes, definitely. I usually tend to be an oversharer. So sometimes I even have discovery calls and I already tell them what to do instead of like hiring me. And I'm like, maybe not so much. But I'm just like, so many times it's just about more like helping others rather than anything else that really drives me. But yeah, so I work in different ways. So I work through the virtual experience where I take you hand in hand and we plan a retreat, but you execute it either by yourself or sometimes, and this will come on the tips, you hire a retreat center that they will take care of a lot of the details. So you don't have to worry about the meals being ready and all this kind of things. Then I work with the presential one. And the presential one, I work in two different ways. It's the basic one where we plan a retreat that it goes from top to bottom, really, really detailed oriented. I will give you one example. For one of my clients, we created this retreat that it was around death. It was called Soulcraft. A beautiful retreat where you write your eulogy, like you really go through a very deep process and you learn how you die every single moment, right? So you have what we call the mini deaths. So I organized this retreat for her, and it was like so beautiful. Her name is Kat LaFay, and she's an amazing transformational modern shaman.
We can put, sorry for everyone who's listening, Leni, remind me that we put it in the description as well, the names that you're mentioning now. So
yes, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I organized this retreat for her. We rented this beautiful state with vineyards, like the whole thing. But then it was a beautiful location, but when we had to make it very, very special and nurturing for the people. So the first night, for example, we were working with lucid dreaming. So I worked with a chef, like an amazing chef, and I spoke to her, and we created mixes for the mocktails for them to have certain drops of flowers that will help them on lucid dreaming, right? So the next day was a heart opening experience. So it was all about really opening the heart. So everything on the menu when they were eating it was food that it was connected to the heart, to opening the heart. So we had artichokes, we had asparagus, we had quite a few things. And also in the beverages, they were all, we had hibiscus water that helps you lower your blood pressure. So you feel more relaxed, you feel more in your body. So everything that was created was connected to the concept, and it was aiding the teachings. And this is something and I'm already giving you some of the tips, because this is something that is very, very important when we create these experiences. They're experiences. They're not events. They're not, there is a difference between an event where you come in, you have a cocktail reception and you go home and nothing has changed in your life. This is like what I create, at least, is things that are always experiential. I go to all the way into like which water they're drinking, the type of water that we're serving, because the water also has certain benefits for X amount of work. Sometimes more minerals will help for certain practices. So we really go deep into all the details, like making sure there's time to integrate, like including already into the package a massage, for example. As simple as that. Because when we do this emotional work, we need to be nurtured and we need to be taken care of, and we need to have free time. This is one of the biggest mistakes that happens in retreat planning.
Exactly.
People pack the schedule.
Yeah, definitely. And they leave no room for, like, I call it marinating, or you need to process things. You need to give your body, your mind, and your soul some rest. It's like a child, like when it's young, it only grows when it's resting.
Exactly.
In the night. So it's the same for this. Like you really need, like, rest is even maybe sometimes even a bigger and more important part of the agenda, maybe than the whole process in yourself.
Yes. Yeah. I had we planned a retreat that had nap times scheduled.
Oh yeah, amazing.
It was like, this is like, of course, if they didn't want to nap, they didn't have to nap, right? But the time was there for them to nap.
Yeah I can really imagine it.
Yeah, so it really has to do a lot. This one was a lot very connected also with just more on meditation and a lot of lucid dreaming, and they had a lot of times to go practice lucid dreaming during the day. So so basically I have the presential one where I guide you through the process, but you have me or one of my team members on site running the retreat for you. So you don't have, you just basically you show up. You know? This is what you do. You show up and then everything is arranged. And I'm always taking care of all the practitioners and facilitators. So they always also get a massage, you know. So I also take in consideration the people who are teaching, because they need to be nurtured and they need to be taken care of. And, you know, if they have something that they really like, I make sure that, you know, let's say if you like berries, there's always berries for you in there. So you're also nurtured, because if you're not in the right mindset, then how can you do this for other people? You know, how can you share your gifts with the world if you're not ready to share them even with yourself? And then I have the ultra personal, and this ultra personal is just, for example, Joe Dispenza. I work with Xuan Lan. She's a yoga meditation teacher, very famous in Spain because she does yoga in Spanish and there's a big market, and she's amazing. So I organized for her like a masterclass with a lunch for her to gather with all her students in Mexico, with Gurmukh, that she's an amazing Kundalini teacher. She does like yoga teacher training. She's from the direct line of Yogi Bayan. So she's one of the 8 teachers that were left after Yogi Bayan died.
Wow,
so
amazing.
Very, very powerful woman. So for this, then I have the ultra personal. For this, that are more on a celebrity kind of space, you know. No, it doesn't have to be very, very celebrity, but I mean people who already, like, I would have people calling me for spots on just based on who they are. Right. So very, very, very niche, extremely very, very, very niche, you know, like a little bit larger groups, you know, 30, 50, 70 people kind of retreats rather than 15, 30.
So where do you feel most comfortable? Like what is the thing that really sparks your heart, fuels your heart?
Well, for me, I think teaching. So the last part where I help people is where I teach them and guide them so they can do their retreats in the future by themselves. I love running retreats operational. It's amazing. I really enjoy the energy and everything that happens, but I only do it for, like, I can only do a certain amount in the way because I really pour my heart into them, you know, like I'm there, I'm present, I travel, I'm usually like 1 week before on site, making sure that everything is happening. So I really choose them very, very specifically. And then, but I know there's more people who can benefit from the teaching. And then this is I have a program that I run a couple of times a year that is called Mastering the Art of Retreat Planning. And it's more on a group setting. And we go through this exercise of finding first your purpose. And then I teach them marketing techniques through spiritual practices. So I help them how to find their niche with sound healing.
That's amazing. So I wanna zoom in a little bit on the leverage of the legacy that you want to leave behind, because I think this is what really the core is of Game Changers United podcast is we do something from the heart, and we have the intention to leave something behind, and everyone has a different way. I love your programs and I love the retreat planner, but there's still this legacy that you want to leave behind. Can you share that with us?
Well, my main legacy and what I know that is my purpose in life, and now is showing up as called the retreat planner, but it could be called Leni Cavazos, you know, it doesn't, for me, my legacy is just, I'm here to remind people that they already have the answers inside themselves. So, and that the light is inside of them already. So this inner guidance, it's already inside, you already know. And then if you go and ask, you will get the answer, and you will find a way how to do something, but it's connected with, you already know, you know, you already know your purpose. You already know what you're sharing. Maybe you're not in the right path yet, but your soul knows where you're going to go. So everything that I do, it doesn't matter if it's consulting with clients, or if it's retreat planning and I'm on the spot, or if I am behind the screen, I always bring this message, because for me, this is my legacy. If I can help people reconnect with their purpose and their hearts and help them do what they do more purposefully, you know, and from a place of heart, I'm happy.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I think that a lot of people that are listening recognize a lot of things that you're saying, because I feel so honored that we are creating this this group and this impact. We are all creating our own way of impact, but when we do it together, we can do so much more. And it sounds so cliche, but we need to do it. So that's the part where it lacks sometimes, I feel. So I think it's time to close the conversation with a few valuable tips and tricks for the audience. And softer ones and the practical ones. And I see you now, because I see you on camera and the people who are listening only on audio. So Laney was just sitting up straight and and really lifting the shoulders, smiling. Okay, let's do it. So bring it on.
Yeah. Well, I've shared a few tips already, but and I'm not gonna go back to. Well, maybe I can touch on them very, very quickly. So really think about everything that can happen, all the possibilities.
Yeah.
And if you cannot think of all the possibilities, hire someone to think of all the possibilities, because it's okay if you can't and you don't see it, but hire someone, get someone to give you one advisory session. But really don't let that on the side, because it's very, very important. Make sure that when you're creating a retreat, it's a transformational retreat. So when it comes to transformational retreat, you need to make sure that you're bringing into consideration the food that they're eating. If the ride from the airport is very long, then they're going to be tired. They need rest time, right? Mm-hmm. Then the other one that I mentioned is this time to integrate the practices. Give them free time. Very, very important, right? And then from the other, I think I mentioned a few more, but it's okay. I have the other one that I want to mention is, from this part is really, the first one is really connect with your heart and find the reason behind why you're doing a retreat. Mm-hmm. And then the clients will come. Don't think what the client needs, or your however you want to call it, student, doesn't really matter. Don't go on the other direction. Go from the heart. And when the heart is full, then you share and you expand. Mm. Most of the people go the other way around. They think, oh, what does my audience need? What can I solve for them? But the reality is that you can only solve what you already solved in yourself, because you need to be in that space for you to teach them something that you already lived.
Yeah.
Very important to teach what you know, not what you read on a book. So many people go and they're like, oh, I'm going to plan a retreat because I read a book.
Oh, yeah.
You need to have a life experience that can really shift someone else's life, because you're already one step ahead. And this is the people that's going to come to your retreats. So very important to connect first with the purpose on your heart. And then from there, you see who's your audience and who you're going to be talking to, right? Not the other way around.
Yeah, it comes more naturally then as well. It really resonates with who you are in your deepest core, not only on a functional level, let's say. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the first part. And then I would say also, when you're looking, if it's your first retreat that you're doing, go for a venue that is a retreat center that will take care of everything. Don't go into these, it's my first retreat, I want to rent a beautiful house, and then do it all by yourself, because you need to hire a chef. There's so many things that you don't know how they would happen, and you're going to be drawn into the logistics.
Yeah.
So if it's your first one and you don't want to be having all this hassle, retreat centers are perfect. They take care of everything.
Well, I already learned a lot. I was like, I wanted to do it in a house, and I had all these, and of course, we can do it. But what you are saying is, get the right people around you that are experts in organizing these kind of experiences. So not events, but experiences.
Exactly.
And preferably in a place that does it every day, of course. But if you don't have a retreat center close to you or within the reach right now, I mean, maybe financially or what the reason is, but you want to be in a place that has the experience to organize your experience. Okay.
Yes, and retreat centers in general, because they're focused on this. For example, I work with a retreat center. It's called Amate Camp. It's in Tepoztlan. It's beautiful retreat. And I was managing the space for quite some time, and now I work more on an off basis. And this space, it's only rented for retreat. You cannot get just a normal booking like a hotel and just walk in and get it. So the energy that is contained in that space is very clean. it really takes care of the space, So it makes such a difference when you're holding space for people.
Yeah, definitely.
Another thing that a lot of people do is they're like, I'm going to rent a few rooms in a hotel that has some nice areas, and then I do my retreat there. You need to contain the energy. So ideally, if you do a hotel, you do a full buyout.
Yeah.
So
I think have any other guests interrupting or any, so that also the venue is fully focused on the things that you are bringing to the world. Yeah.
Yes. And you need to contain the energy of the people who are attending the retreat. So that's very, very important.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to think which one, because I have one for the third one, but I think I can make, I have a better one. I have so many tips, because I teach this in Mastering the Art of Retreat Planning. And this is exactly the whole process where I take them, but we actually do it, and by the end of the program you have a retreat ready for lunch. So like the purpose, the audience, everything is ready. You just need to say yes to booking the venue, and then you're set, so it's actually very the results are very big. Well, also I think I mentioned a little bit about on like profitability at the beginning. I think it's also very mindful to keep a budget tracker.
Yeah.
And this is more on the technical side. So many of us, and this has happened to me, and then I have to go back into my numbers and be like, oh, where did I spend this? Because we leave it until the end. We're like, once a week, I'm going to update it. If you cannot update it once a week, create a WhatsApp group for yourself.
Yeah.
And add the expenses there. And then maybe because you're not in your computer as much or whatnot, then you sit down and you take all your expenses from your WhatsApp group, and then you bring them into the spreadsheet. But don't forget to write them down. There's so many apps that you can use, but for me, it's simpler to just put it in a WhatsApp group with my team. And I'm like, I create one for each retreat, expenses of this retreat. And then whenever I'm spending something, I just put it there. And then I have a team that puts it in this spreadsheet. But if you don't have a team, then you go and then.
I think the main thing, what you're saying is very important, is to also track everyday expenses and things, because there are so many things that you need to take in consideration. And I use Trello a lot for also things like this. So you can create boards for like a retreat, Mexico, retreat Spain, or whatever it is. But find a way that works for you, that allows you to easily track all the costs that you are making, because all the small costs in the end add up to something big. And if you lose out on something, is that the word? Yeah, if you lose out on something, that would be a waste of money. So
yeah, and then I work with energetic branding and marketing also, like as part of like the things that I bring onto the table. And there is this teaching that says that money likes to be kept on site. So money likes to know where you're spending it, where you're not, and that likes to be tracked. Money doesn't like to be loosey-goosey around, and you don't know, things moving around. So I think it's important to keep a track of this more than anything, because you want to make sure that more money is coming in, and then that you're actually making a profit. And even if it's a non-profit retreat that you can run, at least you make sure that your costs are covered.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
You don't put out of pocket.
Yeah, definitely. I like that.
Those are the tips.
Sorry?
For today. I think those are the tips for today.
I think we shared a lot, or you shared a lot of tips actually, and so I'm going to. I think this was so valuable for so many people who are here with such an amazing gift. And if you ever doubt, like, to bring it to the next level, to give it to the world, don't do it anymore. Please reach out to both of us, either one of us, but you need to do something with it, because the world needs you, and you know it. So Leni, I'm going to thank you so much for being a guest on the show. And it was really amazing hearing your story and everything making so much sense and coming together in the retreat planner, and the way how you approach your clients and the market. And it was really amazing. Thank you so much.
No, it's been a pleasure and an honor to be spending this time with you, and with all of and everyone in the audience. And I hope I get to help, or guide people a little bit deeper into this process of retreat planning.
Well, I'm sure at least you inspired a lot of people to think about it, and that's where it all starts, right? So Thank you so much, and to everyone listening, hopefully to the next episode. Bye.